What's up, guys? And if that hasn't got you in the mood, I don't know what will. I've got goosebumps just thinking about tomorrow. Hope you guys are well and welcome to week one match day preview for Newcastle United, should I say, versus Nottingham Forest. In today's video, we're going to go through my predicted Nottingham Forest lineup, how I expect Forest to line up, and the tactics we will use. We will then have a look at the Newcastle team and the Forest team and how they will match up on the pitch, where the game can be won and lost for both teams, and where I think the areas of contentment are going to be on the pitch, and the areas that Forest must win if they are to have a chance of winning this match. But before we start getting into it all, and boys, grab yourself, and girls, grab yourself some popcorn, hit the like button first, subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and let's get into it. Alright guys, let's start by having a look at my predicted Forest team. Now, I've done a full tactics video before on how Forest play and how Forest works, so if you haven't seen that already, check it out. I'll put it up there for you guys to go and check out. I will touch on how I think it will work. But for me, currently with the squad we have, and obviously the news of Morgan Gibbs-White and Awara coming in, oh my god, my mind just can't handle the excitement. This currently is the squad we have. Now, I'm going to run through it quickly and how I think it will line up. I think we have to go with this back three of Worrell, Niakata and McKenna. Obviously Henderson, without saying, self-confessed best goalkeeper in the world, and I'm not arguing with him. I think he's absolutely fantastic. But in terms of the midfield, the defence, the only thing that's in my mind is Niakata left or McKenna left. And in reverse would be McKenna centre or Niakata centre. I'd be interested in your guys' opinions on this. For me, the way Cooper's setting it up is that Niakata is going to start in the middle with McKenna on the left-hand side. I think that makes more sense to me. It seems more balanced and it will work. These guys are going to have to work extremely hard, not just this match, but throughout the season. And chemistry needs to evolve. If Niakata's in the middle, he's going to need to be that glue between Worrell and McKenna. They're all very vocal lads. They're all solid defenders. And what we've added here is pace with Niakata. So I think the back three is picking itself. As much as I love Cookie, I don't think we're going to see much game time on him on big matches like this, but we will have good use for him throughout the season. The wing backs are going to be the most important two players on the pitch for us tomorrow. It is imperative that they get forward and track back very well and very quickly. Both I have accused of in the friendlies of not getting back quick enough. Williams, who I think is fantastic, was semi at fault for not getting back quick enough in the Valencia game. Tuffalo was causing big holes in behind him when he wasn't tracking back as quickly, leaving more work for McKenna to do. You'll see what I mean when I show you who they'll be facing up against in the Newcastle team. I'm sure you guys are well aware of it already. But the responsibility on these two is going to be huge, because a lot of Newcastle's play will come down the wings. When we get into the midfield, now, I don't think this is going to be the two, but I've got a strange feeling that it might be. And this is just my prediction. It's not the official team yet. Obviously, we'll get that on Saturday. O'Brien 100% starts. He's had a fantastic preseason. He's looked like he's straight at home in that Forest midfield. And he's going to be that workhorse in the middle. The contention is between Mangala and Colback. For me, 1000% Mangala's the better player. Mangala's what we need in this midfield, who can pick the ball up and he's comfortable to pick it up from deep. I'm sure you all heard Dino Henderson's interview the other day and how he's just been amazed by how good Mangala is. He wants the ball, he wants to receive it. We're going to need players like this, especially away from home. So for me, if he's up to speed, if he's up to match sharpness, and I think he is because he's had a full preseason with Stuttgart, then these are the two I would like to see. If Colback goes in, I think we'll get a spirited performance from him anyway, being against his old club, his hometown club, etc. I think he'll be spirited, but I don't think he'll have the legs to help, and I'll explain why once we go onto the match board. The front three are going to have to connect and connect quickly. We're going to be counter-attacking a lot in this match, and we're going to need to use Johnson in the channels up front with his pace. We're going to have Lingard playing in some lovely through balls and supporting with forward runs into the box, and Awani doing a similar role to Johnson on the left-hand side. But for me, this is the starting 11 that I would like to see. Let me know if you agree with it or not. What we're going to do, we're going to go in and have a look at the Newcastle team and how they'll line up against the Forest team and where the match will be won and lost, in my opinion. So let's jump across to that. Alright, so I've tucked myself as far into the corner as I can. I'm covering Taggart there a little, but this is roughly how I think the two teams will line up at kickoff, so to speak. Now, the player numbers don't correspond to who they are, and what I want to run through really for the Forest fans is just through the Newcastle team, just so you guys get a better understanding of who I think will play where. So obviously in goal here we will have Nick Pope, their new signing, who was linked to Forest, quoted at 40 million and ended up going for 10 million. He's a fantastic keeper. However, he's always been playing at a Burnley team who have been fighting with relegation, etc. How he's going to cope and the step up in class into the Newcastle team will be interesting to see. Now, with their defence, one person is for sure going to start, and that's their new signing, Botman. Botman is a really class act of a centre-back. What he does lack in pace, he makes up in game awareness and understanding of how to read the game. He will definitely start, but potentially his pace is something that Forest can exploit with the likes of Brennan Johnson and Nico Williams down the side, or Awoni, depending on what side of the defence he starts from. He's left-footed, so I believe he'll start on the left-hand side. The other centre-back, I think, is where they're having a bit of a debate. One of our old boys, Lascelles, potentially may start this game. He's got the passion against Forest. He's been playing a lot of their pre-season games. He is probably coming towards the twilight end of his career. I think I would like to see him starting because I think our attack can get right at him. I think it will be Shah that's starting. Him and Botman will make a good pairing at centre-back, and I think they'll have a good season together. And then over here, if I move that way, that will be Taggart there as their left back. They will set up in something in this kind of form, a 4-3-3. The midfield, which we'll talk about now, is where they will have different shapes. So John Joby Shelvey usually would play as their sitting midfield, their quarterback, if you like. And when he was doing that, you'd probably have more of a shape that looked a bit like this in their midfield. However, with him picking up the injury, this is probably going to be Willock who's playing in that slightly deeper role, with the likes of Grimero and Joe Linton operating as box-to-box players. Now, they may do this roughly something like that, with probably Bruno Grimero sitting slightly deeper and then playing the ball kind of semi-quarterback, if you like, quarterback, if there's such a phrase. But I think they will need to try and be on the front foot, being at home, and will set up more in a single pivot with these two playing as box to box, the Grimero and Joe Linton. Joe Linton will be more of the attacking side of the CM and will get up to support Wilson, who I think will be playing up front. Where they're going to have their biggest threat is right here on the wing, Alan St. Maximin. He is one of the most unpredictable players in the Premier League. He can be, almost Messi style in his gameplay, or he can have a terrible game. A lot of the time, because he's so unpredictable, I don't think he knows half the time what he's doing. And I mean that in a respectful and complimentary way. He's very, very good at what he does, and he's going to cause us potentially a lot of issues, which we'll come onto in a second as well. And then over here on the other side, a player that I've never really rated, Miguel Almiro. Hopefully that doesn't come and bite me in the ass. But he has had a fantastic preseason for Newcastle. I believe he scored 6 goals and it was across a few games. It wasn't like they played one crapper and he scored them all in there. He's playing more as the RW position out wide, but coming in to support the likes of Callum Wilson up front. So he will be a threat, but their big threat will be down the left-hand side. And then, of course, up front, I think it's going to be Callum Wilson. He's fitter now. He's had a pre-season under his belt. He's in his 30s now. I don't fear him as one of the most prolific strikers in the Premier League. I think Newcastle still need to strengthen up front, but he is going to be a physical presence against our defence. So that's the Newcastle team. That's how I see them potentially lining up. The only contention for me is how these three in midfield line up. Like I said, they could line up in a flat three. To really choke out the channels here, which for me would work out quite nicely because Forest can get in from the wing backs in there. But let's move on and kind of mix and match them up a bit and show you where I think the battles are going to happen. Alright guys, so this is roughly how I see it lining up and the main battles in the pitch. Now, I'm not saying these players are going to be static in these positions, but just to give you a rough indicator of where players are going to sit and where the battles are. For me, the biggest battle is going to come right here down this right hand side. Are we going to see the attack going this way, or are we going to see an overload coming from Taggart and St. Maximus down this left hand side? This is the key battle, and this is the one I want to start with. Nico Williams, as we know, is a very forward thinking player and he likes to get up. He gets up pretty much to the byline. He can whip a lovely cross in, we know, either on his left and right foot. But is he potentially going to be creating a lot of space in behind? And that is my potential worry, that we will be looking in and around this area here that potentially could give St. Maximum even a lot of space to work with. What we're really going to need in this situation is Worrell to pull out here onto the right, Niakata coming across to cover the space, and then McKenna falling in line there. And then if they're attacking down the left wing, I want to see Tuffalo getting back in to create this nice wall in and around the edge of our box there. With this happening, with this potential overload happening, what we are going to need to counter it is Brennan Johnson coming into the channel here, which he will naturally do. Jesse Lingard pulling down here a bit as well. And then that will free up space for Owoni to operate in and around this area here as the third man in the attack. So what this will have as well is the impact is on the two in midfield, and that's why I want Mangala in here. Mangala would be ideal to fall back into this position to receive the ball from Henderson to then start to progress the ball up the midfield. What you're going to have is good link-up play with him down this right-hand channel where he's laying it off into Worrell. Worrell's looking for Niakata to get behind Allen. Now, what this will potentially do, Allen doesn't track back very well. He's very, very attack-minded, and he's playing at the L-dub position, so obviously that makes sense. We really need to get this overload here with Lingard, Williams, and Johnson in this triangle here. What it will force is the likes of Willock, who I don't think is going to be right in this position, which will help us to come in here to hold up the space in the middle of the park and try and reduce our overload. And it's going to force the likes of Bruno back, and then Joe Linton, who probably is still going to hang around somewhere around the halfway mark, as well as that secondary supporter there. So that's where Forest can make hay down the right hand side, but it comes at a risk. If we are weak with the ball here, or our passing isn't crisp, then what's potentially going to happen is that we're going to end up seeing those balls coming in over the top, down the wing, into the channel here, for St. Maximum to chase with his pace. If that happens, we could be in trouble, and there's going to be a lot riding on how Joe Worrell will cope with this and how quickly then Nico Williams will get back to cover. He has to be razor sharp And by the 90th minute, he's got to be on his last legs because he's put in a hell of a shift, and I think he will. So that's the battle down the right-hand side, or the Newcastle left. It's going to be the main one where the game is won and lost. Let's have a look at the other parts of the pitch on the left-hand side and in the middle of the park. Now, for me, this is the shape I think Newcastle will be aiming to get into during the match and trying to choke Forest back into their own half. What this will cause is that defensive line to need to hold. And like I said, Nico Williams needs to be mindful of Alan there. But what it will allow us to do is, if we can be aggressive with the tackling here, we know how good we will counter-attack. And what it will do, it will create huge amount of space here for Brennan Johnson to run into, and the same here for Owoni to find those channels. And as we saw in the Valencia game, I mean, this is probably the perfect setup for the goal we scored. We saw McKenna playing the ball right here through into the channel, and Owoni able to get in and then put the cross in there for Brennan Johnson to tap it in home for our goal. And because of the space there, Newcastle being at home as well and being forced to try and play high up the line, that could really work out in Forest's favour. Where it could backfire is if Newcastle are able to choke us and really force the two CMs back here, pushing up Joe Linton and Bruno there, and then overloading here with Willock playing at a really high line. Then what you'll find is the two wingers will squeeze in between the lines here, looking for the wide ball and potentially across into the channel here from either side. That could cause us some problems. However, to avoid this, we are going to have to be strong. We're going to have to hold firm, and we're going to have to push out as much as we can. If that's the case, if we do end up finding ourselves in that position, what I don't want to see is the Hollywood balls that are coming over the top here into the channel. What that ends up doing is just bypassing the defense, and you'll see Pope almost playing as a sweeper keeper there, just to grab the ball and then be able to start and refresh Newcastle's attack quickly, which will keep us pegged in our own half. So we need to be careful of that. Now, if Forest can break this press, this is where we're going to be really fruitful. So again, Mangala would be perfect for it, where the ball would come out to him here from Henderson. He's comfortable enough to hold the ball up, look for a Nico Williams ball down the right hand side, and then look for Lingard popping into this hole and Johnson drifting out here, trying to pull one of the centre backs with him, creating space for then the likes of O'Brien to push forward and then Mangala to follow up through. And that will create the counter attack if we can break that Newcastle press. The key for us to get out of the box is to get past the likes of Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes and press through, break through that press, and then get this overload going into midfield. So if that does tend to happen, then the ball could come into there. We're now looking at a scenario where these guys are tracking back, but Forest have the overload of the three in midfield driving forward. So grabbing the ball and just driving forward there with Lingard, Johnson pulling away down the right hand side, and then Owoni coming in towards the back post. This will also work in reverse as well. So if we just quickly clear the lines for you, if we're looking for something like a ball to O'Brien, who will be comfortable as well in himself to go and get the ball from Dean Henderson, or the pass coming in short from a defender. Again, we need to break the press down this side and almost play it in the opposite direction. Tuffalo getting down wide here for a potential ball. Then you got the option of the ball into the gap there in behind Owoni, who will destroy Trippier for pace down that wing, and then allow the midfielders to go forward and then break the Newcastle high press. If we can do that, that's our best option to get a couple of goals ourselves. Hope that makes sense. So to summarise, the key thing for me is the first 30 minutes of this match. If Forest can find themselves in a position where the game is still 0-0 or there's a goal in it either way, it will allow them to grow into the game. Newcastle St James's Park is a cauldron, but it can work in the opposite way as well. Newcastle are going into this match heavy favourites, expecting to win this comfortably. And if 30 minutes in we've choked them and we've not allowed them in behind where the defence is held solid, you will start to feel the mood in St James's Park change a little, and then that's when we can hit them with the counter attack. Now, what I don't want to happen is Forest to find themselves boxed in for 90 minutes. We have players who can play football now, and we need to remember that. Yes, a lot of our style last year was that counter-attacking football, was, you know, attacking down the right-hand side, but it can become too predictable. We've got to use the likes of Tuffalo down the left-hand side. We've got to use the 2 CMs who are going to be dogged in midfield and put a real shift in. And if they can do that, I am confident that Forest can win this game by a couple of goals. My prediction for the match is going to be 3-1 to Nottingham Forest, with Awoni scoring 1, Lingard scoring 1, and O'Brien getting the third. For Newcastle, I think the goal will come from Joe Linton. I don't know which way around the goals will be, but I will tell you one thing, it's going to be a hell of a match. I hope you guys have enjoyed this match preview. Like I said, it's only a predicted team. As soon as we have the full team lineup, we'll be announcing it on the stream as well, which will start at 2:30. Guys, we are 24 hours away from the Premier League finally coming home to Forest. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget, give us a quick like if you don't mind. It helps the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and don't forget to turn the notifications on. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the watch along tomorrow. Come on, you Reds, let's do it.